yeah. Some of the casting work. I think out of all of those, this one's my favorite one. This looks like Lady Communism to me. Statue of oppression. This is my treasure hoard, some of it. Got lots of this pewter, which nobody really wants anymore. It's kind of hard to find it. It's always only like one thrift shop in a whole giant area that seems to get this stuff, which kind of says a lot about the community in the area. A lot of it is marked pewter. There's a lot of fake pewter out there though too, so you have to know what pewter feels like, what it looks like. Here's a bunch more of it. Really cool tankard. It's too bad it has names and dates carved into it, but you know, so the thing about this stuff is I won't actually use it as, you know, hollowware or drinking vessels, because a lot of pewter is made with lead and antimony in it. I have some hypotheses about that, but you really don't want to be consuming lead or antimony, and maybe not tin. It's hard to say. There's a few scare stories out there. You know, I think the big one's the guys in Antarctica when their tin cans leached all the tin into their food and they got sick. Or stories of people melting their copper pots that are tin lined into their food and making them sick. I think there's something to that. But I've also done a lot of reading on it for the metallurgy perspective, and tin is supposedly a pretty inert metal compared to most of them, so hard to say how much is too much with that. I don't know. They call it poor man's silver. I think that there's some good reasons for that, but real silver is really cool. There's some real silver plate, and you see this stuff everywhere, and it's just not expensive at all. This was my grandma's, which is why I have it. If I didn't have this though, I'd probably go buy a set, because most of this is silver plating on copper vessels. Like I said, both copper and silver have antiviral, antimicrobial properties. And so, you know, supposedly, if you've got copper pipes in your house, those pipes are purifying your water as it sits in the pipes. Unlike plastic pipes, which most of us have, are leaching bisphenol A and all that other good stuff, those phthalates, into our water, actually poisoning it. But yeah, you know, copper and silver got a lot of interest last year among the people studying virology, because turns out they play a huge role in fighting viruses. It's pretty cool, pretty cool. Check this out. And I love treasure hunting, and I have a couple of local places that I like to go where I can usually find some of this pewter. I think that's pewter. I took a risk on that one, but pretty cheap risk. And a lot of this stuff isn't marked. Like, you have, this is marked. It's Norwegian. That's ugly. I don't feel bad melting that down. This here, though, this is Sheffield English pewter. This is the nice stuff. But still, you know, who's gonna drink out of this? I'm not. And Stuff's only really valuable to people who are into metallurgy anyway. So yeah, it's pretty. I keep it around. I don't just melt it for no reason, but eventually it will get melted. Here's another piece. They wanted like $7 for the other 2 pieces in this set, so I just bought these. Whatever. I'm buying it for weight. And then this one. Oh, this was a find. This is definitely a few pounds of pewter. Not marked at all. So I had to find the characteristics that I know mean something is pewter, which has to do with its flex and if you can score it easily, dent it easily. Solder marks are a good indication. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I've probably spent $150 on pewter ware in the last year. And I've got a few $100s worth of pewter by weight. Because like I said, it's tin. It's roughly 97% tin. And tin is a rare earth metal. It's semi-precious. But it's really about what you're trying to do with it. For me, I'm trying to do bronze casting. And true ancient bronze is made with tin and copper. So, you know, I got a bunch of this copper. I throw that in the pot. Throw a little chunk of this pewter in there. Straight up, ancient bronze. The proper type of bronze. Now what I think is super interesting about ancient bronze, and something I'm exploring, is that it's made out of 2 of the most common materials you'll find in electrical components. Right? Copper as the conductor and tin as the solder. So I think there's something to that. I think there's things about ancient times and ancient technology that we don't understand. But it seems pretty clear that a lot of our modern technology came from a deeper understanding of ancient technology. So I'm studying that. And I'm going to make some bells, and I'm going to make some swords, and some art, some bracelets, you know, jewelry, things like that. But very much from a health perspective and taking that metallurgy seriously. Make sure that it's good, clean stuff. You don't want to be drinking out of or wearing dirty metals. Don't want to do it. So some of my thoughts on that old poor man's silver, that pewter. I have a lot of thoughts on it. A lot of interesting impressions that my research kind of makes on me. But I mean, as we know today, the powers that be intentionally feed us all kinds of poison. You know, plastics and all kinds of bullshit that we shouldn't be eating. Bromide in the bread, and they always have some kind of cover excuse, you know, like they always have some bullshit reason why they're doing it that doesn't add up when you really apply some scrutiny. But with the tin, I think it's fascinating because, okay, so it's poor man's silver, meaning it's meant for less affluent people, right? But people with something, people with some money. And it used to be made in the old days with a decent amount of lead and a bit of antimony in it. Nowadays it's made without any lead, but still got the antimony, which is suspect, highly suspect. Antimony is supposed to have some really, really strange neurological effects, supposedly. But in ancient times, it was, you know, related to vitality and stamina and all of these, you know, manly virtues or some shit. And so anyway, my impression is that going all the way back to ancient times, the metallurgy was very much determined by what the sorcerers or priests or scientists knew about the effects of those metals. You know, I read about ceremonies in temples that they would literally burn lead as if it was the incense. I mean, you know, we've all heard what happened when they took the lead out of the gas here in the States in the 70s, like as an experiment. I think it was New York. Took the lead out of the gas, and within 6 months, the homicide rate dropped dramatically. So you think about that. It's like, okay, let's go smoke some lead and go to war. Ugh. So, you know, why put that stuff intentionally into drinking vessels, right? Something seems fishy. So I have this impression that metallurgists, sorcerers, scientists, all the way back in ancient times, knew very well what they were doing when they were putting these different metals in things. I think that they knew they were intentionally, predictably poisoning populations because they understood what the different metals would do to the brain and the thought process, the psychology, and that basically is one of our earliest pictures of, you know, the idea of control, mind control, controlling populations, predictably programming, was through the metals. I think that they did that through metals for a very long time. I think they still do it. I try not to drink out of plastic at all, unless it's something you just kind of can only get in plastic and it's just for fun, and I know it's bad for me anyway. But, you know, same goes for some of this hollowware, you know. I don't mess with non-stick, all that Teflon shit. You know, I'm real careful about any of these old things, worrying about whether or not they're clean or dirty metals. Back to the poor man's silver, you know, I can't help but see that stuff as intentionally poisonous. And so to me, its worth is in its craftsmanship, if it's good, cool looking stuff, but primarily for its tin content, which is very high. It's mostly tin. And I don't know, I just think it's an interesting perspective on metallurgy to think about old alchemy and sorcery and all that shit you read about, and the stone tablets and, you know, carved in hieroglyphs and stuff. It's like, those people weren't stupid. They might have been a lot smarter than we are today, probably. And I think they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think that kind of knowledge is why so many libraries have been burnt, and so many, you know, new modern cultures have burned so many books. I think that's why they're burning them now. Because they learn these things and then they just try to hide it. And the powers that be, their libraries don't have any gaps in them. I'm confident of that, you know. All these supposedly untranslated languages and lost books. Pfft, man, these motherfuckers have all that. They have all that shit. I know it. It just seems obvious to me. But, you know, doing some exploring. Trying to figure out a little more what they know.